Hi guys, I just got back from Indonesia and Malaysia where I co-produced and hosted the 11th Asian Surfactant Conference in KL, and so here are 5 quick takeaways from the event. First up, it's almost certain that there's going to be a shortfall of palm kernel oil in the coming years. That's due to a number of factors. One is the large increase in fatty alcohol capacity in the region, slated to come online in the next couple of years. Then you've got things like the re-emergence of the Ganoderma virus in Malaysia, this time in much younger trees. Previously that's been confined to older trees. You've got overall lower yields. That's a combination of reluctance to invest, especially by smaller owners in the palm plantation. Older trees yielding less and limited replanting as a result of that. You've got actually decreasing now acreage in Malaysia for palm plantations, and you've got a phenomenon where the actual ratio of the size of the palm fruit, right, which gives rise to palm oil, the ratio of that to the palm kernel, which is the place we're interested in, right, for the lauric oils, that ratio, there's more palm fruit now as a result of genetic engineering of the palm crop. So a lot of things conspiring to ensure pretty much definitely that there will be difficulty in getting hold of palm oil, especially for the non-vertically integrated producers. There's another big issue in the oil palm industry, and that is the recent seizure of palm plantation acreage in Indonesia by the government. So this has been going on since earlier in the year. I wrote about it in the blog, and what I've learned is it looks like it's right across the board. So acreage has been seized by the government, from smallholders to all the way to the very largest palm plantation companies. It's a fragmented set of acres, so it's not contiguous, but it's pretty substantial, it's pretty large, and it seems like the plan is to put this acreage into the hands of a government-owned holding company called Agrinas. And the big question is whether they will actually run the plantations or whether they'll leave the running of the plantations with the original owners. What it looks like is existing owners, in many cases, but not all, the original owners of the seized plantation will continue to run the plantations with the government holding company as a financial partner in that. And so the government will be taking a slice of the profits. But, you know, that's still uncertain. People are very much taking a wait and see attitude. And regardless of how and when things pan out, it seems again almost certain that this will very negatively affect palm yields in Indonesia, and of course along with that, yields of palm kernel oil. Over the last year or so, as many participants know, the pricing of detergent range alcohol, oleo alcohol, 1214, has gone up substantially, whereas LAB pricing has remained pretty much level. And so what you're seeing is a huge divergence, historically large divergence between the price of LAB and fatty alcohols, and this is of course making LAS and other derivatives much more cost competitive in detergent formulations than fatty alcohol derivatives. Now, despite this, we're also seeing much more competitive pricing of alcohol ethoxylates versus the underlying alcohols themselves. So some very interesting price dynamics in the market, and we'll see how long that continues. We heard a lot about technical innovations in the market, and especially from Econic, we heard about the use of carbon dioxide to make novel surfactants, deploying existing ethoxylation assets. Some very interesting economics presented, which I will not share directly here because you should have been there. But suffice to say that I think this area is worth keeping a close eye on. Also in the innovation area, some fantastic data and insights from Holly Firm regarding sulforolipid and rhamnolipid biosurfactants. Glycolipids is the collective category. And so they presented some data on the pricing parity needed between biosurfactants and traditional surfactants for equivalent performance. And the numbers, again, I'll not share them with you here because, again, you should have been there, but they're not crazy numbers. They're very reasonable numbers given the performance advantages in many cases of the sulforolipids, in particular in detergent formulations. So some provocative numbers and some interesting food for thought given the relatively nascent stage of the biosurfactant industry, but some very interesting projections there in terms of capacity growth in the coming years, driven by that performance advantage and not driven really by considerations of sustainability. So again, another interesting innovation to keep an eye on. Finally, a lot of interesting discussion and debate about a lot of other interesting things like glucamides from Clariant, consumer preferences from Nielsen going right to the end of the value chain, and the use of artificial intelligence in surfactant design and performance assessment from ExxonMobil, talking about their hydrophobes and ethoxylated versions of those hydrophobes. So it was great to be back in KL. There's lots going on in Palm. There's a lot of innovation in other parts of the value chain. And so thanks again for your attention. If you'd like to join us in person at the next event, we'll be holding that in Jersey City in May. I'll provide the link in the comments below. Thanks again, as always, for listening.